GBRS group made a video kind of sort of discussing your natural point of aim. A YouTuber by the name of Trench Grenade made a rebuttal to that video. And then this Special Forces operator did a video kind of reviewing the reviewer. I feel like in the conversation, if you want to call it that, there's kind of a misunderstanding or some missing context. So I'm going to try to provide that clarity for you. The original video of him reviewing the reviewer is, I think, 14 minutes long, but there's only actually about a minute to 2 minutes of them actually talking about the topic at hand here, which is your natural point of aim. I cut out all that stuff. If you want to get involved in the drama, you can go over there and you can do that on their YouTube channels, but we're just going to focus on your natural point of aim.
All right, so what did DJ put out? He put out a video over on GBRS's channel a few days ago talking about natural point of aim and essentially muscle memory from presentations of the rifle system. If you were to take the optic off, right, and then you actually do your presentations, your snap outs, where is your natural point of aim? Where is that dot actually landing? The idea behind this is if you're highly skilled enough, that presentation, that snap out, whether pistol or a rifle, a rifle or a pistol, that red dot or that optic dot is going to be exactly where my eyes are looking, hypothetically, if we're trained enough. Okay, so
this is exactly what your natural point of aim is. Whether you're utilizing a pistol, a rifle, iron sights, or an optic, when you present your weapon system to the target, your eyes are in line with your sights, and your optic or your reticle or your iron sights are in position on the target immediately, exactly where you expect them to be, without having to put any extra effort into making that happen. This is the simplest way of explaining this, but it's going to get a little bit complicated.
Just to kind of see where we're at. Again, I'm not saying don't use the sights, but if you're so reliant onto them, you don't actually build in a repeatable formula, now you're a victim to them. That's what you see a bunch of guys, they have this beautiful presentation, they snap it out, and then they start searching for it. So inside of a certain range, you don't need them, right? And if we're not building that repeatable pattern, we're really just cheating ourselves. So test yourself. If you got an extra upper, throw it on there, strip off all the optics and just see. And then see what piece of this furniture can I actually use to make it my secondary sighting system. For me,
what's really important about what he just said is that he is doing this to test his natural point of aim.
It's that big support grip thumb. I drop it right down the rail line and just.
All right, so he's talking about basically, now there's times where this could be usable, right? Let's say your red dot optic goes down. You're in a CQB situation. You're at 3 to 5 meters. You're going to be point shooting probably anyway, okay? So what he's talking about is using that thumb as sort of an index to sort of make up for lack of the dot, all right? We do this in high-level pistol training as well, all right, from that presentation. If your dot goes down, there's different methods, right? There's a guillotine method, tuxedo methods, different methods that you can still engage your target without an optic, all right? Nothing weird about this so far, all right? So
he's actually talking about and demonstrating two separate concepts. One of them is your natural point of aim, and the other is utilizing some secondary aiming method to get your rounds on target, the natural point of aim supporting the other method. However, although it isn't weird, I do think utilizing a secondary aiming method is starting to fall outside of what's realistic and what the actual reality is. I made a video on the channel where I discussed how you could use your rifle light as a secondary aiming device. And in that video, I start that video by saying, this is the first video I've ever made where I'm telling you something you can do, but you probably shouldn't resort to doing, and utilizing any secondary aiming method when you have a working and functioning optic is not necessary. And the reason that it's unrealistic is because the likelihood of you training it, especially enough to develop competency, is extremely low. The likelihood of a catastrophic event occurring with your optic or your iron sights not working is extremely low. And the likelihood of those two things being true, and you deliberately move to utilizing some alternative aiming method in a high stress situation when the time is right now, is pretty close to zero.
Let's go over to him or to DJ demonstrating this and see if we have any issues.
I'm trying to do this in under 1 second. Six zero.
All right, real quick. So he's working from low ready presentation. He snaps out, weapon goes on fire, engages his target, weapon goes back on safe, back to low ready, okay? No issues so far.
Good hit. High ready. Eight, 7, just to the left. Rifle bill drill.
Okay, first and foremost, natural point of aim is not when you take the optic off of your gun. Okay, we'll just use my ACOG as a reference on my 20-inch gun here. Okay, natural point of aim is not taking the optic off your gun and index firing at a target. That is not natural point of aim.
Okay, that statement alone is a statement that is true, but that's also not what GBRS is saying. He is testing his natural point of aim, of which he has developed through actually aiming. If I go to the range with my wife, who has shot a gun a couple times, and I take the optic off of my handgun and I tell her to engage a target at 7 yards, she's going to point the gun at the target and pull the trigger. She is neither going to demonstrate competency in having developed her natural point of aim, nor is she actually training her natural point of aim.
Natural point of aim is also known as your gun target line.
This is a statement that is true, and these gentlemen here, who is a member of the Marine Corps marksmanship team, I believe, is going to explain that to you.
So with natural point of aim is when your body is naturally aligned to the rifle and the rifle is naturally aligned to the target.
Again, what he said there was gun target line. That's just another way of saying exactly what they said there in that clip.
That is, if you were to get in the prone firing position behind the gun, close your eyes for 3 seconds, open your eyes, wherever your sights naturally rest, that is your gun target line.
Okay, what he's talking about here is a way of testing your natural point of aim. I only pulled one video off of YouTube where this gentleman here is going to explain that. There is a number of videos, and you can do this yourself if you want to in your own house, and maybe you have done it, to test where your natural point of aim is. That is a way, again, to test where your natural point of aim is.
Close your
From the standing position.
eyes, do your draw, open your eyes. Is that dot square in the middle of the screen? If it's not, make a correction.
Again, if it is not superimposed on the target and in line with your eyesight as you present your firearm, if you were going to utilize this method of closing your eyes and opening your eyes, and then you also have to make some input with your body to force the gun on target, or input with the gun to force the gun on target, well, then that's not your natural point of aim, because you're making unnatural movements to achieve that.
Okay, real quick, guys. Your natural point of aim is not laying in the prone and then closing your eyes for 3 seconds and reopening.
He's giving you a way to test your natural point of aim. And if you do this and you open your eyes and you're not directly in line with the target and your reticle is not superimposed on the target within your eyesight, well, then you are not, or you are in your natural point of aim. You just need to figure out how to fix it.
Okay, if I'm in the prone, my weapon is supported, which means my optic is not moving.
Okay, it doesn't have any relationship to whether there's movement in your optic. It's about whether or not your optic is in line with your eyesight and the target.
So what we're trying to accomplish is when we're in our relaxed state and we're looking through the scope, that reticle stays on the target without us having to hold it there with any muscle tension. Common problem that we see that is not your natural point of aim is where a person looks through the scope and the reticle's near the target and they just move it over. But you can see that I just developed muscle tension in my position by moving that reticle to the center of the target.
Again, forcing yourself to get on target, whether you present with a handgun and you're manipulating the handgun, or pushing your arms down to actually find your reticle, or shrinking your shoulders to find your reticle, all of that is unnatural movement and something that you want to avoid.
So what you want to do is move your base, okay? So if you're standing, you would want to move your feet. If you're laying in the prone, you'd want to shift your hips over and then shift the rear bag over as you do it. Or if you're in the kneeling position, you would pivot on that kneeling position.
And the important thing about what he said there with body position is finding that body position that gets you to where you need to be, so that every time you drop down into the prone or you get into the kneeling or you present your firearm, you are essentially in what is called your natural point of aim, and all of those things are in order.
Okay. So me closing my eyes and reopening my eyes does nothing to my natural point of aim.
Again, it's simply a test to determine where your natural point of aim is and if you need to correct it or not.
Because my optic isn't moving, my weapon's supported. If I'm standing up and I'm unsupported, maybe you could make that argument, but wrong on that one.
Again, whether you're utilizing a rifle or pistol, standing or in the prone, you can utilize this method to determine whether or not you have a good natural point of aim.
Line or natural point of aim. Another way to explain it is wherever your belt buckle is pointed at, your target should be within a 45-degree window to.
Okay, what he's talking about here is not your natural point of aim. Talking about your belt buckle or your thoracic, whatever you want to call it, your chest, being in line with your target. That is called kinesthetic alignment to your target. That is not called your natural point of aim.
What he's talking about is one element to your natural point of aim, which is facing your target. Your kinesthetic alignment is an element to developing your natural point of aim, at least in the standing position. If I'm facing this direction and the target is over here to my left, for me to present to the target, all of that input I'm doing into my body to get on target is unnatural versus presenting my firearm to a target that is directly in front of me.
Okay, let's keep moving.
To the dominant side. So if I was aiming at you, my belt buckle needs to be directly in line or within a 45-degree window of my intended target.
Not natural point of aim. Okay.
That is a gun target line or a natural point of aim.
When you're in the standing position, your belt buckle, your sternum, as actually GBRS says a lot in their videos, to the target, is just an element of your natural point of aim. It is not in itself natural point of aim.
Ah, not too bad. So we got 3 just on the outside. One of those was combat reload, 1 shot, so dinged it off a little bit. You know, shoot with the jacket, whatever's gonna happen. Sometimes you don't get a perfect shoulder placement, but for me, inside of that cavity, I'm super stoked out for no optic, no real reference point, just my thumb, especially the 1 reload ones.
So again, something that's really important about this video is that he is testing the work that he has put in with his optic, because developing your natural point of aim needs to be done with an optic to test whether or not he has developed, the strong fundamentals of your natural point of aim. And that is what this Navy SEAL here is going to essentially tell you as well. Let me fix the video so you can actually see this guy.
Point shooting. And I got a lot of questions about whether that replaces good marksmanship or not. And no, the short answer, no. All right, it's reps, okay? The reason the bullet goes where I point my thumb is because I've built my grip and I've done that so many times while I'm looking at the sight.
Exactly what I just stated. The reason that you're able to accomplish point shooting or take the optic off of your rifle, which you don't actually need to do that, pistol or rifle, you could just shut the optic off and get the same results, or determine if you're going to get the same results, is because of the work that you've put in utilizing your optic. A year ago, I made this video, and I'm going to explain why, after the video plays, understanding your natural point of aim and being able to get into your natural point of aim is the most important aspect of shooting, in my opinion, that you need to know and understand and be competent in executing every single time without fail. Obviously, when it's time to draw our pistol and present it at the target and fire a round, we want to do that as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Therefore, we don't want to have to be doing anything with our shoulders, anything with our head, dipping our head down, or trying to maneuver the pistol in our hand in order to find our dot. Now, you hear people talk about natural point of aim, and sometimes what they're talking about is your ability to point the gun at the target and pull the trigger, hit the target without actually finding your sights. I think that that is a misconception about natural point of aim. Again, being able to do that is a product of developing your natural point of aim, not actually doing it and saying, this is essentially your natural point of aim, if that makes sense. there is some relevancy to that and being able to do that depending on distance. But when I talk about your natural point of aim, I'm talking about your ability to be able to draw your pistol, deliver the dot to your eye, superimpose the dot on the target, and be able to obviously hit the target after that without having to do anything extra with your head, your shoulders, maneuvering the pistol within your hands, because all of that is going to waste time that you may not have, and it's not as efficient as it could be. There's two main reasons why your natural point of aim is the most important aspect of shooting that you need to understand and you need to be competent in executing every single time without fail. The first reason is that when you present your handgun to the threat or to the target, if you have to do anything else, manipulate your handgun, push your arms down, dip your shoulders, dip your head down to find your reticle, you're wasting time, and that's time that we don't have. You can call it a tenth of a second, you can call it a couple tenths of seconds, but that's time that we don't have and time that's being wasted. However, more importantly, when you're presented with a lethal threat in real life, if you do not present your handgun or your rifle in a manner in which your optic or your iron sights are directly within your line of sight, your brain is not going to allow you to do any of those things that you're doing in training to find your reticle. Your brain is going to force you to continue to stay focused on the threat, and that's the reason that most officers point the gun and pull the trigger and never actually get to their sights. If you enjoyed this video and the commentary and you're not subscribed already, it would be cool if you were. And if you'd like, you can let me know what you think about it down in the comments.